threatens the basic democracy of the internet. So my story is this. About 3.5 years ago, I was a victim of an online sexual assault. A lot of you might not know this, but it happens a lot. My email was broken into and my password was changed and shared online so that thousands and maybe even hundreds of people could enter my email and find all of my information, and that's what they did. They took private pictures of me and shared them online along with information that they found through linkage and through EXIFs and through my email. Sharing the pictures with this additional information was done in order to enhance the pain that I would go through following this attack on me. This is why I call it sexual violence or sexual assault, because it is gendered. It was very clear for me that they wanted to attack me and that they wanted it to be very painful for me. So this was not only, sexual for fun, it was about power. They had on me what I later would come to understand was what was called a full docs, which is private and hopefully graphic pictures, and for them, hopefully, not for me. And then every sort of conceivable private information, and then they post it all together to download in order to make it easier to harass me. This all happened while I was asleep, so it was a pretty big shock when I woke up. Because what happened was that when you wake up and you find out that this has happened, you're first very shocked. You have no idea what's going to happen and what this is going to mean, and it's a very confusing and painful feeling of disassociation, because you can't really understand why it is that these pictures of you that are so harmless elicit such an anger and such vitriol directed at your person. You really don't understand why that could happen, and that was very surprising to me, that people were harassing me and calling me names just because I took a topless picture for my boyfriend when I was 17 years old. Why would that provoke someone to say, ruin this disgusting whore's life forever? But that was how these people talked, and that was how they talked about me, even though none of them knew me. The entire process took a long time for me to kind of work through. I spent a lot of time thinking about what this could mean. Because every day I was receiving harassment from strangers on various platforms, and it was just unceasing. It never ended. This type of assault is collaborative and lasting. It doesn't really end. As you all know, the time on the internet is not linear. So every time something gets posted in a new place, it's new information to people. So, it doesn't really get better over time. Which was one of the things I realized when, maybe 2 years had passed and absolutely nothing had happened. I struggled a lot with finding out what this type of assault actually meant, what it entailed, and how it related to other types of sexual assault, like rape or sexual harassment. I became engaged with feminism because I understood that at the core of what had happened to me, there was not only a fraught relation to female sexuality, but there was also an element of shaming. And lastly, there was other stuff at work too, that power and subjugation online. There was this inherent wish to dominate other people and getting a rush from other people's pain. In my case, the wish to dominate women, because this has had obviously nothing to do with me personally, but I just became an image of what a sexually abused or humiliated woman online could be. But a lot of people were getting an extreme adrenaline highs or some sort of sexual satisfaction from calling me a whore in places I probably wouldn't even see. So for thousands of people, I was just easy prey, and if you wanted to harass someone, I was a great choice. Because what I realized was that they could harass me because I had a big secret that they knew and I didn't want other people to know. This is a great starting point to not get caught harassing, because I couldn't tell anyone. They knew that I was a victim of sexual abuse and that the evidence for other people to find this out was only a click away. And then it was very clear to me that every message that I received contained an implicit threat to me to contact people. And they did contact people. They sent it to people I work for, my parents, my siblings, most of my Facebook friends who had also been posted alongside the pictures. So this had really not that much to do with pornography and a lot to do about shaming and a lot to do about power. They gained nothing from it except this abstract feeling of superiority to me, the fallen woman. The fact that my consent had been violated facilitated ceaseless assaults on my person. So I thought I might as well do something because this doesn't change. So I made what was called the Consent Project. I had processed this information for about 3 years, and I realized the harassment wasn't going to end. So I thought, I might as well do something. I wanted to do something that made a difference to other victims, and I also wanted to do some things that underscored and showcased the things that I had found out at being a victim from this, why it hurt and why it mattered, not only to feminism, but about how we see the internet as democratic and why it isn't. The Consent Project was a series of semi-nude pictures called A New Story About My Body, one of which is this one. You might have seen it. It kind of went viral in a way. And I uploaded them with consent. If you think this is counterintuitive, it is because you have a skewed idea of what consent means. It's very, very important that a person consents to a picture or material being shared online. It is actually completely central. The reaction that a lot of people was that she's just doing the same thing to herself as other people have done to her. But the thing is, you cannot violate your own consent. And I found this very important because it showed me that consent is a larger problem online, that people don't really seem to care what people in pictures think about the picture being there. And I think that's a huge problem. So what is the issue? What did I try to raise here? The following. The project had many goals, but the main one I'm going to talk about today is why large sites' laissez-faire approach to non-consensually shared material threatens the democratic potential of the internet. Because 90% of victims of non-consensual pornography are female, and female victims also report feeling much more distressed and receiving much more harassment than their male counterparts. But how does this happen? So, I love the internet. I really, really do. I've been on the internet for so long. I was born in '91. I grew up with the internet. I got my first blog when I was like 11 years old. I've always been on the internet, but the thing that happened when this happened to me was that I completely lost the will to use the internet. I didn't want to go on the internet, which was horrible for me because I had always been part of message boards. I was a Redditor since basically the beginning of Reddit, and it was very, very painful for me. But the thing is that what we have learned with the internet is that it's a new level playing field, that everyone has equal power. It's radically changed the way that we share information, and it means that any person can rise to the top of a comment section, and any person can say something and it holds equal validity. The comment stands on its own. Every regular person is judged by what it says. The impact of this has been huge, especially in the work for equality, which is the problem here has often been that people who are oppressed in different ways have had difficulty finding each other and sharing their stories and struggles. But the internet has really helped this. But there is, of course, a downside, as there is to everything good. Every single person has gotten a voice to do both good and bad. And this is also people who use this voice to harass and threaten a person like me. They use this voice not only to talk, but also to share material. And sharing material is, in most legal cases, called speech, especially in America. Sharing material is called speech by the ACLU. So sharing something of me and making that illegal is, by a lot of people, considered to be a breach of freedom of speech. The anonymity and the level playing field and the ability to reach me directly has dire consequences, obviously, for a person like me, because it means that when we have platforms that are used for third-party sharing only, every person can share stuff equally. And this is great when they're sharing stuff that maybe they're whistleblowing a big corporation or they're doing something for justice, but maybe they're using it to harass and destroy the lives of other people, and we should consider how we're going to handle that. Because we still live in a country, or in a world or planet, where some people, women for example, are more targeted than other people. The effects of harassment and abuse are pretty serious. Like I said before, I was always a big user of the internet. I love being on the internet, and it had been a huge thing for me, especially as a person who had difficulty getting friends when I was a kid. The internet really changed that for me. But as soon as this happened to me, using the internet was basically impossible. I didn't want to sign anything with my name. All of the usernames I'd used at sites previously had been shared along with the pictures, so I was being targeted basically on every platform that I had ever been on. Of course, I couldn't have a Twitter, because on Twitter people can write to you anonymously and publicly, so that would be impossible for me, because people would send me the pictures and I would see it publicly. It was even difficult for me to meet people in real life, because I was afraid that they would be Googling me. So yeah, it's an attack not only on your online identity, but on your entire person. And I'm just trying to underscore how extremely important it is that we try to stop that this happens, because the internet becomes a place for terrorism. And there's a reason I call it terrorism, because the fear that seeing a person like me breeds in other people and other groups is extremely important in this, and this is my point about democracy. This matters because when women hear, especially women, hear and see this sort of thing happening, it deters them from using the internet as well. It makes them very aware that they could be next, and that if you suffer any sort of abuse online and you're targeted online, no one's going to help you, and it won't end. It's terrorism because it silences and breeds fear in women as a group. It makes us afraid to take up space because we see this is what happens. We choose not to speak up, we choose not to have female-sounding usernames, and we choose not to report harassment. We become silent in the same way that women through sexual and emotional violence are silenced in real life. That we're disproportionately victimized online matters because it lets us know that the risk of being victim online is an integral part of being a woman online. And I feel in my experiences that many women are aware of this and generally hide in forums, for example, that they are women. But what should we do about this? What can sites do? Recently, both Reddit and Twitter have spoken out and said that they will take non-consensual pornography more seriously in the future. And I think this is, of course, a welcome effort, but I think a more concerted approach could be good. I think every one of you who works or is related to web or IT in general will know that tough legislation on the internet is often very badly constructed and seeks to ruin the dynamics of the internet in general. We all love the internet, so do I still. And this is why sites actually should really lead the way. In Canada, a couple of months ago, there was, to stop online bullying, they did a law that basically strips young people's rights to privacy if they're suspected of harassment, and we can't have laws like that. It's going to ruin the internet. So that's not what any of us want. So what I'm saying is, lawmakers on the internet is like an elephant in a glass shop. Uploading a picture without a person's consent should be illegal and is most times illegal, but sites should make sure that we don't need laws that criminalize them for hosting third-party material. That for me is a complete slippery slope, and we don't want that. However, this of course means that sites must take much more responsibility for what they host, especially those that rely almost solely on third-party material. The arena that they own is the new school playground, it's the new workplace, and it's the new social space. They're making millions of dollars off of our contributions, and I think it's fair they take care of us when their sites are used to victimize us. So what are the different things we can do? I think we should nuance and revolutionize the reporting tools online. It's going to be important in the future. If we want uploading to be quick and direct, as we want it now, it means that accidents or knowingly malignant behavior or destructive behavior is going to occur. What matters is how we handle it once it does. Giving people who report the benefit of the doubt is a good first step, I think. It might temporarily remove things that are not actually dangerous, but in the larger scale, it will make users feel secure and the material can be removed afterwards. Getting material off of a site fast is essential in minimizing this kind of damage. And I think removing something that might not be malignant for a couple of hours in order to save one person from what I've been through might be worth it. Another thing is blacklisting EXIF material. Most of you who work in IT probably know what an EXIF is, but it's a file that is saved every time you take a digital photograph, and it is often embedded in the photograph file. It tells all kinds of information about the shot, and it is a unique code that is linked to every photo. Most people are not familiar with what an EXIF is, and I wasn't either until this happened to me. But marking the EXIFs of pictures or material that has already been marked non-consensual from the internet would be hugely helpful in terms of reporting when something happens again. Because the thing is that when something has been uploaded and you report it and it's uploaded again, you have to go through the process all over again. It would be extremely helpful if the old report had been stored somewhere so that when I take a picture of my passport 3 times for Twitter, maybe they should just say that, okay, this picture has already been marked non-consensual, so people can't do it again. Marking EXIF files would be extremely helpful in this regard. Because most harassers aren't that insistent, because most people don't know you personally. For a lot of the people who share this, they share about 100 women a day against the women's will. So if this process becomes too difficult for them, they'll stop. They'll do something else, or it at least won't be as frequent. So yeah, correlating EXIFs with previous reports would be a huge step in the right direction. Also, picture recognition technology, not recognizing the face, that is not what I'm about here, but rather recognizing how a picture looks if a picture has been reported before, because an EXIF file can be deleted. For example, if you upload a picture to Facebook, the EXIF is deleted. Picture recognition and having a picture recognition blacklist would also be extremely effective. If this blacklist recognizes the picture as having been uploaded before, or in the act of reporting recognizes this picture as having been reported before, it removes it instantly. This should be general practice. Also, it would be amazing if large internet corporations could work together on a blacklist like this. I think that it would be hugely welcome. I know that they're all competing with each other, but for the love of God, we're giving you everything we have. We're right now in an online economy where how this exchange works is I give you all of my private information, and I give you all of my creative material, I give you all of my pictures, and you make millions of dollars and give me a fast messaging system. I think it would be fair that if your site is used to destroy my life, you feel some sort of responsibility to me as a person. So, why should they do it? I think that just as big corporations have started profiling themselves as being good to the environment, and that this has actually led to big corporations having to be good to the environment, we should demand from the platforms that we use that they care about our privacy. We live in a capitalist society and we know what works. This should be a selling point for them. Being the ones who don't care about child pornography, graphic material shared without the person's consent, and private information is just not that positive a branding trait. And I think that we should call sites out on it when they don't, and I'm trying. Making money off of hosting material shared without consent is immoral, and users are catching up on it. Saying that you have no responsibility for material uploaded by a third party is starting to sound quaint and irresponsible, especially seeing as these sites make their money off of things that we create and share for free. So why is this relevant in a democratic sense, and why is it relevant to equality? I think we have a huge democratic problem online. The internet right now, as it is, reproduces the structures of power in the actual world. This means that women and minorities, sexual minorities and racial minorities, have a harder time online and get harassed more. If you want to, in practice, to have the democratic potential that it does in principle, we need to crack down where the internet furthers and helps harassment and makes people feel violated and unwelcome, as it happened to me. Telling women, for example, that they cannot store things in the cloud, or telling young gay people that if they are out on the internet, their chances of harassment are going to rise by 75%, which is the current situation, is detrimental to technological development and its oppression. And it's an abuse of power to say that we cannot help change this and we cannot fight this more. This is about us standing up and demanding equal rights and fair treatment and no discrimination to further the internet in the direction we want it to go. We want people to feel safe online and not live in perennial fear. We want people to feel that the oppression that they face every day as women and or sexual minorities or racial minorities is not reproduced online, and we want them to feel that their voice matters just as much. But that's not the situation right now. The situation is that people are afraid to use the internet to speak democratically because they know they'll be disproportionately attacked for speaking about things that are about oppression, which I would know as a feminist activist. So I want you all to think about, when you leave today, how we can create an internet where these types of power relations don't exist, where people who threaten them are dissuaded from their destructive behavior. It's extremely important because right now the internet is not democratic and everyone on the internet does not have equal rights, because what harassment does is that it makes people step down. And I understand that. It is completely unfair that some people should be victim to much more harassment online than other people. And the thing with the level playing field is that every voice matters equally. So even though the people who write to you on Twitter are just trolls, it still hurts you. And I think that's what people tend to forget, is that when a person calls you a fat cow 25 times, you might be strong enough the first 10 times, but the last 15 you might think, okay, you know what, I'll just skip being political online because I can't stand it anymore. And that's what we're seeing happening with young LGBTQ activists, young anti-racism activists, young feminist activists. So the internet as it is right now is not democratic, and I think big sites should definitely take the lead and lead in this area, because it's extremely, extremely serious. And just saying that they don't take responsibility for third-party material and for harassment, that everyone has it the same way, and that being trolled is part of being on the internet is absurd, because some people carry most of the burden. I want to give you an example. A young American man a couple of years ago was secretly filmed kissing another man. His friends, as they were called in the articles, threatened to post the video online outing and shaming him. They never did, because they didn't have to, because he killed himself before they got to do it. If he'd lived in a world where he knew that sites would take bigger responsibility for removing material shared without consent, he might not have done that. This is extremely important. This is about protecting the privacy and the rights of everyone. And some people are being disproportionately targeted, and we need to take it very seriously. He might have been alive today if we had done this 10 years ago. Thank you so much.